wrote his meditations in the Warsaw Ghetto, and he wrote them and he preserved them by stuffing them in milk canisters, which were found under the rubble years later in the Ringelbaum archives, I think is the name of the fellow, the photographer, who discovered them. And they were brought out and they were shared with the world. And he said about this verse in Leviticus that whenever you reach a moment in your personal prayer, whenever you are ahead of the kahal, or whenever you've lost your place, he said, perhaps hum to yourself or repeat to yourself this line. Esh tamid tukad al hamizbeach lo tichbe. That the eternal, that the fire, it shall be kept, this perpetual fire on the altar, that it shall not go out. And so too shall your experience of prayer, instead of being one of stops and starts, of stutters, just be one continuous offering in the experience. Tonight, with no accompaniment, I want to encourage us all, when there's a lull, when there's a pause, when you're not sure what's going on or you've lost interest in the page in front of you, come back to these words. Hum them. Say them to yourself. Esh tamid tukad al hamizbeach lo tichbe. And that way, I will not stress so much about my lack of accompaniment. And I hope that we too have a experience that even without music, in that sense, carries us through our tefillah, our prayer. So, all that said, hello. I see a lot of familiar faces, Shabbat Shalom friends, and I see some new ones. My name is Rabbi Michael Walden. Some of y'all know me, but I've been out for a bit. I'm a former rabbi here. And as we bring in Shabbat together, as we reflect on our week, I want us all to keep that fire burning, to bring to as an offering to Shabbat our own week. And there's something purifying about the Shabbat experience, we have to hope, that it can somehow burn away that which we seek to leave behind in the week. And yet we can bring into Shabbat what we loved, what we enjoyed, what we want to keep with us, if we let it. So, with that, I'd invite us to turn to page 120. And I've neglected to get a volunteer for candles. But I would like to ask a brave soul, if someone feels that it's the right moment to light candles, please stand. Please. 120. I won't put people on the spot. It was a challenge by choice, I believe.
What happened to lighting candles? Yeah. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitchanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Shabbat Shalom, friends. On the bottom of page 131, as we say some of the psalms that lead up to Lecha Dodi, the psalms instituted by the Kabbalists of Sfat, we say, Ya'aloz Sadai v'kol asher bo, az yirananu, kol etzei yar. Ya'aloz Sadai. Let all the fields and all within them exult. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy. The tune I love goes like this. It goes, Ya'aloz Sadai v'kol asher bo, Ya'aloz Sadai, ay, 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 ay. One more time. Ya'aloz Sadai v'kol asher bo, Ya'aloz Sadai, ay, 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'kol asher bo, Ya'aloz Sadai, ay, 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 ay. Part two. Az yiranenu kol atzei ya'ar, 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 ya'aloz Sadai kol asher bo, Ya'aloz Sadai, ay, 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 Ya'aloz Sadai v'kol asher bo, Ya'aloz Sadai, ay, 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 ay. On page 132. Or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. Or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. Arua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. O Yisrael simcha, or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha, o Yisrael simcha, or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. Or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. Or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. U Yisrael simcha. Or zarua latzadik u Yisrael simcha. O Yisrael simcha, eshtamidu gad ala mizbeach. Zamru ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra. Zamru ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra. Zamru ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra. Zamru ladonai bechinor, bechinor vekol one of the things I love about not having any musical accompaniment is that I get to hear y'all. And I hear it so clearly and so strongly. It's beautiful. It is the offering that we have to bring, that we have to give. Breathing in a little bit of Shabbat. We're going to turn to page 138. And I want to ask y'all. I've been out of the game a bit. Maybe not so much. But is there a lechadodi that you love most, that you want to hear, that we've been singing, that you could teach me? I'm quick on the uptake. Don't worry. Likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla. I need y'all's help on this first part too. Or bizahor bidibur echad hishminu el hamiuchad anai echad ushmo echad l'shemu tiferet tilah. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabla. One more and I'll get it. Ikrat Shabbat lechu nelcha ki michor habracha erosh mikedem nesucha sof ma עשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני Shabbat nekabla Ikdash melech ir melucha kumi tzvi mitoch hafecha rafla shevet Tabecha ki change Uyu yachamol laichem la. Last one, we'll swap. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat kabela dodi likrat kala all right, friends, we're going to swap it up here. I encourage you to choose ones that you know the tune to the words to as well as the chorus. Or we'll pick one. I'll pick one for us. Yeah? Hitnareri me'afar kumi livshi bigdei tifartei chami al yad ben ishai beit halachmi קרבה נפשי גאלה דן לך דודי לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי באורק ומיהורי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני אלייך נגלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה ולא תבושי ולא תקלני מה תשתוכחי ומה תהמי בך יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר על תהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. One more, friends. One more tune, friends. It's 9. We'll divide it in thirds. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה והיו למשיסה שוסייך ורחקו קומב עלייך יסיס עלייך אלוהי כמסוס חתן על כלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי אל יריש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. Friends, we have greeted Shabbat, but we have yet to greet each other. And I'm going to ask you to do something. I love this joke that no rabbi asks you to do on Shabbat. I want you to travel and go meet someone new here. Go meet someone new here. Go talk to them and introduce yourselves as we all greet ourselves as well as Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom, Michael. Hello, sir. Good to see you.
Well,
Well,
I
good,
just
good.
got back from travel, and
Excellent.
I'm here, which is pretty great if you
Glad
ask
to
me.
have you here.
I like being here. Will you be here tomorrow?
For
Okay,
tour
I'm
study?
very excited
Yes.
about this tour study. Hello, sir. Are you hugging? We can be hugging. Yeah, I got you. Well, it's one of those ones with the sensor, so it monitors my heart rate. I'm stressed. My blood pressure's high. No, no. She says whatever gets you to wear it all, I'm fine. So I'm wearing it. It's wonderful to be here. Still a little jet lagged from Japan, but 16 hours difference. It was an incredible experience.
Did you find any shoes over there?
There are no schools in Japan that I knew of except for Kabbalah. So it's very difficult, actually. Kabbalah in Tokyo and I think Kabbalah in Kyoto. We sort of looked at them and they weren't quite what we wanted. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, listen, it feels like home being here. I'll be here as much as they invite me. So I'm always happy to be here. Okay. Oh. Shabbat Shalom.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. It's good to be here.
Good to have you here.
As long as they let me come, I'm here. You know, they say show up, and I show up. It's nice to see you, sir. Shabbat Shalom. So I'm here. I'm here as long as they'll have me. Anyway, I think I'm gonna try and herd some cats back into their seats. Wish me luck with that.
I will. I noticed a ring.
Oh, I got married.
Mazel tov.
I know. It's wonderful for me. It's terrible for her, but it's wonderful for me. Let me tell you. So, yeah, I was married just. Oh. I'm doing my best with no music. I'm trying to keep the ish burning. You're I mean, in a synagogue full of beautiful voices. Just another. So thank you. Eshtamindu kadala mizbealo o dichbe Eshtamindu kadala mizbealo dichbe lo dichbe lo dichbe lo dichbe Ish, lo tichbe, lo tichbe, eshtamiduka, amizbeach lo, tichbe, eshtamiduka, dalamizbeach lo, tichbe, lo tichbe, lo tichbe, lo tichbe, eshtamiduka, dalamizbeach lo tichbe Eshtamintu Kadala Mizbeach Lo Tichpe. We move into the next part of our service with the transition, the sort of bookend between sections of our service on 144. 144. Yitkadal v'yitkada shemei rabba ve'almad difra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon hu v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman kari ve'imeru Yehi shmei rabba mevora le'alam ulal me'al maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudusha leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran le'alma Veimeru. Amen. We rise and face the ark for our Baruch Hu, which is right behind me. Go figure. Yai yadai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai da da da, yai da, yai da da da, yai da, yai da da, yai da 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 da, yai da da da, yai da 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 da, yai da da da, yai da da da. Baruch hu et Adonai. Amevorach Baruch Adonai Amevorach Amevorach le'olam va'ed Amevorach, Amevorach, le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Blessed are you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being. You can read with me, who opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time, changes the seasons, arranges the stars and their heavenly courses according to plan. Creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness or mitnei choshech, transforming into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. You reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, God, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael. I want to hear y'all. Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu Kumenu nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei toratcha ומצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו. יארך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, נגה יומם ולילה. אהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. On page 152, we find the words of our Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem, Amen. Read silently the words of Emet Vemunah on page 156. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, מי כמוך. נורא תהילות אוסף אלי, נורא תהילות אוסף אלי. מלכותך קרוב עניך כי היה מצווה משה ים. זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Thus it is said, v'ne'emar, ki fadaya Adonai et Yaakov. Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu, l'shalom v'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim. The words of Hashkivenu on page 160 are words fundamentally of transition, are words fundamentally of seeking a little bit of shelter as the day ends, as our week ends. And that sukat shlomecha, that shelter of peace, it's not a building. I would argue it's a time that we are building for ourselves over the next 26 hours. And I want to ask everyone here to take one moment to put this idea on their internal altar, to elevate this idea, to take a moment to breathe, to ask for that shelter, the shelter that you, hopefully in partnership with divinity, will build over Shabbat. And we'll come back together to say the Khatimah at the end of the prayer. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who spreads a shelter of peace over all your people Israel and over the heavenly Jerusalem. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael Shabbat, lasot Shabbat adoratam brit olam. The people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages, a covenant for all time. Bini uvein v'nei Yisrael od hile olam. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz. For in 6 days God made heaven and earth, and on this seventh day, God's self, ceased from work and was refreshed. Our Amidah, our standing silent prayer, is found on page 164. I invite you, as you go through the Amidah, or when you finish your Amidah, to go back to that mantra, that idea of this eternal fire that we keep burning, that keeps alive that sense of connection. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. say shalom bimroma. Huya say shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru v'imru amen. I drew out my Amidah so you had a little bit of extra time to practice the Eish Tamid. But I want to offer now a moment in our service where we say a prayer for healing, where we think of those who may not be with us, who need a little bit of healing. I wanted to grab this very long list. What has happened in my absence? I wanted to grab this list as I invite all of us to share aloud the names of that you may be thinking of, people in need of healing, whether that healing is physical, spiritual, mental. And as I sort of move my hand around the kahal today, please feel free to share a name, offer a thought. The congregation also wants to acknowledge the healing needed for Batya Peters, Sonda Goldberger, Rich Zabridger, Robert Bergman, Ron Victor, Prue Victor, Marilyn Katz, Tamara Herman, Stacy Stoffer, Lenny Sue Master, Vicky Kaufman, Bob Steinfeld, Linda Stahl, Joan Picken, Diane Gilden, Julie Ogawa, Jonathan Weinberg, Val Swisher, Judy Sutton, Bernice Paris, Ellie Johnson, Sharon Kaplan, Shelley Jerizna, Kasibat Shelley, Linda Scott, Leah Batarivka, Ardis Jack Now, Laura Bernal, Lisa Cardine, Anthony O'Connor, Alison Coven, Yaakov Yosef Ben Zlata, Harav Gita Dalia Bat Ruven Vayafa, Amit Ben Kamen Alevi Shlomet, Phyllis Schwartz, Mark Bayer, Sheila Fell, and Carolyn K. Ota. The words are quite simple. Ana Elna Refanala. It goes like this, some of you may know. Ana Elna, Ana Elna. 3, 4. Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna Refanala. Whoa, Ana Elna Refanala. Oh, Ana Elna Refanala. Whoa, Ana Elna Refanala. Oh, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna, Ana Elna Refanala. Oh, Ana Elna Refanala. Oh, Ana Elna Refanala. Oh, Ana Elna Refanala. I love a song that doesn't end on tonic for those who study music here. All right, friends. I'm going to stand for this. I hope it's okay. I've made a game time decision to scrap the vast majority of this Devar Torah. I was thinking about it as we spoke, and it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. Some of you may know that what animates me, and as a Jew, is what we call shelot teshuvot, in English, responsa. And responsa are this unique and interesting form of rabbinic literature, and yet there is something a little bit more than that. Is anyone familiar with responsa here? I see one hand, exactly. I see 4 hands. I see a hand and a half. So I want you to imagine a letter arriving, like a legal query, a response, a she'ela, a question, arriving on a rabbi's desk. Again, this happens mostly in sort of more frum spaces, but progressive as well. And as I cannibalize some small parts of this drash, you'll forgive me, because this is the thing I'm perhaps most interested and animated by. By the way, I am teaching a rabbinical school class on this right now. I'm teaching 2 classes at a rabbinical school for this. So imagine this question. To the presiding authority, our father has just died. He left no will, no sons. There's only us 5 daughters. And under the inheritance law here, his estate passes outside of the line. His name erased from the sort of rolls. And we don't believe that this is what the law should be. As a matter of fact, we believe the law intends something quite different. So we request a ruling. Signed, M-N-H-M-N-T. So, right. This query was not a recent query. It was filed about 3,000 years ago on the plains of Moab. And it comes from Machla, Noah, Chogla, Milka, and Tirza, who are Zelophehad's daughters. And the posek, the adjudicator, one who responds to questions, is God. So when I think about this tale, I want to break it into 4 parts. And those parts are pshat, remez, drash, and sod. Are we familiar with these words? These are the levels of interpretation through which Jews understand texts. Pshat, the simple level of things. The remez, what's hinted at? Drash, like allegory. And finally, sod, what is secret? And I want to talk about this, and I'll cannibalize various things that I had intended to say elsewhere, and we'll go through it together. Is that okay? So, Numbers 27. Let's begin with Pshat, right? The entire community assembles at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and they're stating their case. And they say, famous, right? Lama yigrash Shem Avinu mitoch mishpachto ki ein lo ben. Tana lanu achuza our holdings. Oh, sorry. Why should our names be subtracted from my father's family because he had no son? Give us our holding. That's what the claim of the daughters to Moses and the community. And Moses immediately hears this and doesn't know the answer. Rashi actually explains that the answer was hidden for him because he made a bold comment back in Yitro. So it says, Vayakrev Moshe et mishpatan lifnei Adonai. Moses brought their question before God. And God immediately answers, right? God says, Ken banot selof echad dobrot. Like thus they have spoken correctly. They speak correctly. And that's it. The law changes. It's not like an amendment or a footnote to the law. The law about inheritance that we just got immediately changes, right? And the Talmud actually clarifies that this law is not only written by Moses, but that Moses only merited to write it because the daughters had brought it up. So this is the origin of She'elot Utshuvot, of responsa in Jewish tradition. This entire body of literature becomes here. From the Torah, we have mitzvot, commandments. From the mitzvot, we have halacha, the way, the legal corpus, if you will. The problem is, a legal corpus doesn't really cover everything in life. Things happen outside of it. What do? You ask a question. Hey, well, how do I deal with this novel situation? And when someone doesn't know, like Moses, they kick it to a higher authority. There's a supreme authority, but we'll get there. This idea that the additions to the law, they're not appendices. This is the Torah we are reading this week. So, thus we get She'elot Utshuvot, responsa literature. And I want to maybe add one more to our Pshat section, which is that responsa are not, when I say responsa literature, I don't mean books on a shelf. I mean a practice. I mean a way of being for Jews. That when we encounter something we don't understand in life, is it important? That when I use AI, that I need to worry about speaking b'shem omro, like a proper attribution. This is a new question that people are batting around. So that's the simple version, right? From these daughters, we get the origins of an entire way that Judaism approaches the gaps in code. All right, Pshat, Sababa. All right, Doremes. So look at where they're standing. Do you remember when the quote, right? They approached, right? Petach Ohel Moed, at the entrance of the tent of meeting. What else is at the entrance of the tent of meeting? The Torah is actually very specific about the sort of layout, the floor plan. The Mishkan, and right before the Mishkan is inside, but right at the entrance is the Mizbeach, is the altar. The altar about which Leviticus 6:6 says, come on, Esh tamid ugalal. Yeah. A perpetual fire shall be kept burning on the altar. It shall not go out. So the 5 sisters are standing next to this fire. They're not allowed to die. The fire is never allowed to die. And they're there to ask a question. And I want to point out about the verbs that they use when it says they ask the question, right? Because it says, right? I wrote this here somewhere. Right? Vatikravna, right? They drew near. Right? And then Moses, when he doesn't know the answer, takes their question, right? And we read this passage, right? Vayakrev Moshe. What does Moses do with their questions? He brings them near. But does anyone know the shoresh of these two words? Vatikravna. Right? Or if I say lehakriv korban, right? To bring an offering. But there's no animal anywhere in the story of Zelophehad's daughters. What's going on? The only thing that's offered at the altar is a question. The only thing offered at the altar is a question. And I think that's the remez. What's being hinted at here is that a real question a divine question, a spiritually moving question, in our tradition is an offering. It has both a cost and it has both a reward, a connection, and even in the asking, it brings one closer to divinity. And so the questions become the korbanot. Okay, so that was pshat and that was remez. Should we keep going? When it's too much, you can just say stop, and I have like 5 stop points. Okay. Drash. Zelafachad. Who is Zelafachad? Does anyone know who Zelafachad is? We know his daughters. So there's an incident, a few parshiot back in the Torah, about a person who is gathering wood on Shabbat and died for it. A few people remember this. And Rabbi Akiva, famously, and not uncontroversially, by the way, there's a part in the Talmud where he's not, right, says, that was Zelofechad. And when the daughters say, right, we wish to let our father's name not be diminished, they are specifically saying, we want to set something right about the past with our father. This man was gathering wood out of time. He was outside of the rhythm of the community. He was on Shabbat gathering wood, and that's it. But hold on a second. Remember our Levitical verse, Eish tamid tukad al mizbeach, the fire shall not go out? The verse before it says, I'll skip the, and the priest shall burn wood upon it, morning by morning, baboker baboker. There's a sort of paradox in the fire. Right? It's a perpetual fire. It requires wood every single morning. The Eish Tamid doesn't actually keep itself going. It has to be, it might be a divine flame for sure, but it operates on a human schedule. So the father gathers the wood, and that was forbidden, and he was out. And the children come to make amends for this on Shabbat. And what do they bring? A question. It's the question that keeps it burning. And by the way, I would argue that it's a similar plea, because by the way, it says, Lama yigra Shem Avinu. Why should our father's name be go out, diminished? Lo tikhbe, don't let it go out. They have the same concern in a certain sense. It's the same prayer for the name, for the flame, for this connection to divinity. Okay. One more? Are we doing our you can start frowning when I lose you. The Talmud has this teaching in Yoma, right? It said, Afal pisha yored min hashamayim, even though fire has descended from heaven, mitzvah lehavi min hahediot. It's a mitzvah to bring fire min hahediot from ordinary places, or by human hands. So every shelah, I would argue, is that mitzvah min hahediot, min hahediot. Every teshuvah, every response to it, is the fire growing a bit larger. And I think that the Eish Kodesh, who had this idea of the Eish Kodesh, by the way, the rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto, it's kind of perfect because, of course, his name is Holy Fire. The Eish Kodesh teaches when you lose your place in davening, when the community has moved on without you, when your mind has wandered or the page doesn't quite match where you are, you don't fall silent. Instead, you hold this line, Eish tamid ukar ala mizbeach lo tikhbe. The daughters of Zelofechad, in this sort of final level, they have lost their place. Almost literally, by the way, like achuzah is a holding. It's their physical place. And the law that was written offered them none. And their answer is not silence. Their answer is to stand by this perpetual fire and add wood. So all in all, I think that at this final level, when you've lost your place, no matter where you are, we keep the fire. And the way a Jew keeps the fire is to ask. Okay, enough with the levels. I have a sneaking suspicion that as progressive as non-halachic Jews, in some ways, we find ourselves in places. Maybe it's here. Maybe it's an Orthodox synagogue, at the JCC, I don't know. Where we find that we have perhaps lost our place in the tradition. That somehow we have a notion every once in a while, well, there's the Torah and then there's life. They don't quite match up. But I think the message of Parshat Pinchas, of this week's portion, is hakriv, like to draw near. If you don't know your place, bring a question. That's the whole point. And because the precedent is very much on your side. The very first answer to the very first she'elah, the very first word of the answer is ken, which means yes. Rightly said. So, in conclusion, in thinking about this week's Parsha, I want to encourage you to please bring your she'elot. I want to remind you that there's room on the altar for both modernity and divinity. And with that, Shabbat Shalom. Now I need some water. There was a lot of talking. Give me just a minute. Okay. Our Aleinu is found on page 586. I invite anyone who is a past president to come open the ark. That is 586 in the blue brackets. As we rise, if you are able in body or spirit. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר פרישי, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, וחיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated.
Don't they get lollipops?
I don't. Shoot.
You didn't get your lollipop.
You didn't get a lollipop.
No, thank you.
Oh, they were there. Oh, perfect.
What's your favorite flavor?
Let's get one for Jean. Okay. If you are in the first 7 days of mourning, Shiva'ah, I invite you to rise, please, and share the name aloud of those who you may be remembering. If you are in the first 30 days of mourning, the Shloshim, I invite you to rise and share aloud the name of those who you may be remembering. Thank you. Please. If you are in the first year of mourning, the Shana,
Linda Marks.
Paula Eppinger.
Barbara Aronowitz.
if you have a yard site this week, an anniversary of someone's passing, I invite you to rise and share who you're remembering.
My husband, Michael.
My grandmother, Ethel Fargenstein.
My brother Bob.
My mother, Ruth. My mother, Pauline Lagarde.
We remember, as well as a congregation, Dr. Claudia Susanna Kuzis, Betty Perlmutter, Barbara Aronowitz, Joel Sternman, Heschel Richter, Gren Nemhauser, Ellen Seiss, and Benjamin Hubbard, Dave Stahl, Arthur Malman, Barbara Conroy, Linda Marks Turboff, Bob Sherman, Karen Robinson, Jay Brill, Lee Howell and Kevin O'Connor, Joseph Sutton, Dr. Saul Levine, Devorah Brody, Paula Eppinger, Marcia Cohn-Spiegel, Michael Lieberman, Paxton Cooper Sr., Kelly Lipsey, Dr. Jack Meltzer, Isaac Zareksky, Susie Zuckerman-Gullett, Barbara Campos, Lucille Friedland, Michael Dorfman, Norman Whitkin, Joel Ash, Beverly Willits, Roger Scott, Lillian Statfield, Martin Fenster, Michael Goldman, Tucker Sanders, Judy Verratti, Al Parker, John Gittleman, Eileen Wolk, Berdine Covine, Ruvain Robert, Bob Glasser, Zelda Rosenberg-Katz, Gary Hertzberg, Alex Goldenberger, Mira Engel, and Barbara Robbins. Remember also those who died at this season in years past: Beatrice Kern, Blanche Schoenfeld, Florence Steiner, Frank Weinman, Lynette Jenkins, Michael Gilden, Pauline Lagarde, Rabbi Shamuin Norielin, Rita Litwin, Robert Morris Pickard, Ruth Levy, Sarah Gochenberg Bernstein, William Brunner, and Zella Greenfield. Remember it well, Lupa Freyas, the friend of Beth Lee. I invite you now to rise if you are able, and if it is your custom, to join us for the Mourner's Kaddish, which is found on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'elma divra chiyutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon ufchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru. Yehei shmei Rabbah me'olam u'maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Yeh shlam Rabba min shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom v'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru. May their memories, and the memories for whom all mourn, be for a blessing. Zichronam lebracha. You may be seated. Okay. We have some announcements. Do we have a board member here? Do we have the other kind of board? Oh, yes. Oh, perfect.
Shabbat Shalom. Very nice to see everybody here at Shabbat services on the, if not quite the lawn, but very, very near to the lawn. I will highlight just a few of our announcements, but you can find all of these events and more on our website calendar at shirhadash.org. Starting with tomorrow morning, July 4th, 9:15 a.m., we have the extended Torah study with Rabbi Michael Walden. Thank you very much, Rabbi Walden, for being with us. Till 11-ish, maybe?
For you, 3. The Torah study is scheduled for 90 minutes or 2 hours, so I will probably... At 9:15, we'll pause at 11, and we'll have a stopping point at 11, and those who wish to do a little bit more can hang out, but 11 will be just fine.
No, that's okay. The other thing to remember about tomorrow morning is while we have an amazing extended Torah study, we will not have regular Shabbat services. And then beginning on Tuesday, July 7th at 7 p.m., our High Holy Day choir rehearsals will begin. So if you're a singer, come join our High Holy Day choir, and please contact Cantor Devora if you are interested and want more information. And then on Wednesday, July 8th at 6 p.m., we will have Beloved Texts with Rabbi Rafi. And as the title says, Rabbi Rafi will share passages from the Torah, Talmud, Midrash, contemporary poetry, and beyond that has shaped his thinking and his work. And then at the end of next week, we will have our Friday, July 10th, Shabbat services. So please save this date, and it will be our sunset Shabbat on the lawn. The thing about this is that it's going to be a half an hour later than it normally starts. Or no, I'm sorry, 1 hour. 1 hour later. The shmooze is at 6:30, and services will start at 7 p.m. And then if you haven't had an opportunity yet to look into considering volunteering, on Sunday, July 12th at 2 p.m., we have a Malat Farms Volunteering Day. Come, Ma'alot. Come visit Ma'alot Farms and help us plant, weed, and harvest produce to donate. We'll start with a brief tour of the farm before diving in and getting our hands dirty. Shabbat Shalom.
For some reason, I have 5 copies of the announcements. It's just me, though. Yes, but seems like a lot of time and space will be folded into tomorrow. 5 instances of repeating it. Friends, as our service concludes, I would like to invite us to turn to page 122. And I also would like to invite, because I neglected to secure volunteers before our service began, is there anyone who would like to lead the Kiddush? In that case, I would like to invite the unsung hero of Shir Hadash, Rachel Wilson, to come up while I lead it and she receives all the honor. Page 122. It's not a bad compromise, right?
Yes, that's a good compromise.
ויערבי בוקר יום השישי, ויחול השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויהי אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויערב אלוהים היום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. That was real quickly. You can all stand as we say, Savri L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, porei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav veratzavanu. Shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh vereshit. כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר לציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. With all of us standing, I want to invite us all to turn to page... Oh, I'm out of practice here. To page 603. And I invite your neighbor to turn to your fellow as we bless each other as a community, coming together. Again, 603. Turn to your fellow. And the words of the benedictions, we say, may God inspire you to live like Ephraim and Manasseh, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, the progenitors of the Jewish people. We say, Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerecha, may you be blessed and may you be kept. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka, may God's light shine upon you. May God find grace within you. Isa Adonai panav elecha, may the face of God always turn towards you. Vayesem lecha shalom, and may all your paths be peace. Friends, Shabbat shalom. Toda l'kulam. Thank you so much for coming.